Hiya guys, Teacher Nick coming to you again. I'm here to talk to you about argumentative writing. Okay, let's get on with it. So, what is argumentative writing? So, argumentative writing is less emotional and more logical. I'm trying to get how do I get the fingers right? Spock fingers, okay? So, argumentative writing is got little to do with your emotions. It's more logical, it's more focused, okay? Argumentative writing, okay, is more about the argument, okay, less about basically getting the audience to agree. It's basically putting their point of view across, okay? Clarity and reasoning, okay? Not shouting, not getting angry, being clear, being reasonable. I'm going to say this 100 times, okay? There's an emphasis on the structure and the sequencing. We're going to have a look at some of that as we go through to support your argument. But you're still looking at both sides, okay? An argument is not just one person shouting, okay? It is logical, it is not emotional, okay? The voice, so it's got to be very calm. You want to be clear, calm, and strong. So the voice that you use in your writing, remember, voice is created through your vocabulary. So it's not about being sarcastic. It's not about being angry. It's about being clear, calm, and collected, like not Captain Scott, Spock, Spy Spock. He was Lieutenant, I think. Lieutenant Spock, indeed. Okay. Argumentative writing is going to be more personal. So that is one of the deciders. That was one of the things you can see the difference between argumentative and, say, discursive writing is you're going to have a lot of I think, I believe, in my opinion. It's far more direct in the way that it communicates with the audience. So you're going to find it a lot in speeches, okay, in articles even, perhaps even in a blog. Okay, so it is not about being angry, okay? You're not like Darth Vader, okay? You're not angry. You don't want to join the dark side. Balance. Balance is key. Using counter-argument, okay? You want to be subtle but persuasive, okay? You're going to be more personal. So a good example is Star Wars versus Star Trek. Okay, which do you prefer? Would you be able to make an argument for one or the other? But you can't argue for one without thinking about the other. Here's an example. With the recent release of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Strange New Worlds, which is Star Trek, Obi-Wan being obviously Star Wars, the two biggest science fiction franchises in the galaxy have proven that they aren't going away anytime soon. Ever since they both came on the scene, fans have vehemently debated about which is the best, and many still believe that Star Trek is superior to Star Wars. So which side is this text leaning to? You see it's saying both sides, but one side is better. So that is the point, is there are two sides to every single argument, okay? So sometimes even more, but we want to focus, okay, on looking at the perspective. We want, whatever the argument is, whether it be Star Wars, whether it be Star Trek, we want to be looking at both sides. So understanding, you've got to be understanding, okay? You don't have to accept that Star Wars is better or Star Trek is better, okay? But you need to understand the aspects of both sides in order to be effective in your argument. And that's why there are two sides to every argument, okay? Sometimes the argument features an exploratory discussion of an issue, okay, before the writer comes down on one side or the other. So it might be, well, Star Wars is better. No, Star Trek is better. but Star Wars has got blasters. Star Trek has got blasters. Oh, okay. Well, it seems like there are two sides to the story. We need to explore more. We need to understand. I agree. So, argumentative writing also has key conventions. Very similar to discursive writing, and I'm going to be doing a video on discursive writing. And then you'll be able to compare the differences and the similarities. Because discursive writing is still balanced, argumentative writing is still balanced, and I wanted to do argumentative writing separately. Okay, so it's going to express a strong viewpoint. It's going to use the first person, and it's that first person I which decides that it is argumentative. Because in discursive, which we'll look at a later time, you'll understand what I mean. There will be anecdotes or examples because you still need to engage the reader. Remember, you want to still be persuasive. You cannot forget about your varied sentence structures. The way that you structure your text, and we're going to see a nice example of that, okay, is how your argument moves along in a progressive way. Discourse markers, we cannot get away from them in any text. Rhetorical devices, persuasive. Statistics, data, persuasive. Expert evidence, persuasive. So, first bullet point, okay? It's going to express a strong viewpoint, but deal with both sides of an argument. So let's look at these two arguments here. William Shatner, who is Captain Kirk from Star Trek. William Shatner argues that Star Trek is superior to Star Wars. According to him, Star Trek had relationships and conflict among the relationships and stories that involved humanity and philosophical questions. Shatner believes that Star Wars was only better than Star Trek in terms of special effects, and that once J.J. Abrams became involved, Star Trek was able to supersede Star Wars on every level. So you can see there's that argument very much focused on the one side, but it's not saying, Star Wars is rubbish. Here's another example. Jeremy Bulloch, who was best known for his role as Boba Fett, one of the guys from Star Wars. In the original Star Wars trilogy, he was a huge fan of Star Trek, the original series. He argued that while both franchises are popular, Star Wars comes out as superior for its soundtrack and special effects. So again, saying that, Star Trek had its place, but for him, Star Wars had its special side. So it's interesting that basically they talk about that at the end of their paragraph. The structure of your paragraph can be very important. Okay. The use of the first person. Okay, and this is probably one of the unique things that you will find in discursive writing is you can identify when it is argumentative, when the writer is talking about, these are my thoughts, these are my ideas essentially. Okay, I think, therefore, I understand this, and it's important, I mean, there's an example here. Billionaire Peter Thiel told Dowd, I'm a capitalist. Star Wars is the capitalist show. Star Trek is the communist one. He further stated, there is no money in Star Trek because you just have the transporter machine that can make anything you need. The whole plot of Star Wars starts with Han Solo having this debt that he owes. And so the plot in Star Wars is driven by money. And it sounds like whoever this Peter Thiel is, he's more concerned with money than basically enjoying a good show. But you can see that basically his thoughts and his ideas, he's using that I, so he's trying to be convincing. Even though he discusses Star Trek, okay, it's my thoughts. I am. So it's that first person perspective. Okay. Anecdotes or examples to engage the reader. So kind of providing the background information. And this is very much linked with being able to show that you have a good understanding of the text. Okay. So the best one that I could find that might fit into this example here is basically the documentary Trek Nation features interviews where both Lucas and Roddenberry praise each other's respective franchises, with the former stating that Star Trek was an influence while writing the original screenplay for Star Wars. He explained that while both franchises were so far out, Star Trek produced a fan base that was softened up by the entertainment arena, so that Star Wars could come along and stand on its shoulders. This is also acknowledged by Shatner, who went as far as to call Star Wars a derivative of Star Trek. That's some background information. Surely you know who Lucas and Roddenberry are? Oh my golly gosh, people. Okay, so you have George Lucas and Gene Roddenberry. Okay. Here's what they look like. Okay. So the guy with the beard, that is George Lucas. Okay. He did Star Wars. This is Gene Roddenberry. He did Star Trek. He wrote the Star Trek. He wrote Star Wars. Oh my golly gosh, people. This is turning into a history lesson. Okay. We cannot get away from those sentence structures, okay, and making sure that we develop the structure of the text in a logical, remember that word, progressive way. So this is an actual article that I found online, okay? So I want you to basically look at some of the things that they've done here, okay? So they've separated the Star Wars and the Star Trek out. Okay, and they give you background information on both. Okay, look at some of the sentence structures that are used. Okay, this very short sentence at the end. Okay, a nice balance of complex and compound sentences. Then they go on to discuss Star Trek. Okay, back to Star Wars using a rhetorical question, and then they have the reasons why. Okay, the same article basically continued, okay, and then we can see why Star Trek is so popular, Star Trek stories, and they give you lots of different information. And what is interesting is that in this article, the very last part of the text mainly focuses on Star Trek. Okay, so it is important the way that you structure your text. Okay. And I personally, I think, and you guys can pause and read through this text, that this person was probably very discursive in their writing, but was more argumentative because they seemed to lean through the use of their language, the structure of their sentences, okay, and the way that they talk more about Star Trek. They got more information there, okay. I think that they were more Star Trek fans, okay. I wonder what you guys are. I wonder if you're a Star Trek or a Star Wars fan. Now, discourse markers. Guys, I'm going to probably have to do a section just purely on discourse markers. Discourse markers you're going to use in every single text, okay? They are important, okay? We use them to basically organize our text so that our reader, okay, knows where they are. It's like a map, okay? With those discourse markers, those connectives, they help us understand where we are in the text, okay? Because, I mean, after all, we want to influence our reader, so we want to make sure that we structure the text in a way that the reader can follow our direction. So we got those structural connectives or discourse markers, firstly, secondly, to begin with, overall, as a whole, in conclusion, okay, or consequence or result, because of this, consequently, also, okay, additional and reinforcing points, furthermore, moreover, in addition. So that is very much part of that counter argument that you're going to have, okay, because you're going to say Star Wars is fabulous. However, Star Trek is the greatest. Moreover, 50% of people think that Star Trek is the best. Okay. So there's also that contrast, however, on the other hand, yet despite this, conversely. Okay, so you have to decide which part of the argument you stand on. Okay, you're going to be using those persuasive language techniques. Don't forget a right forest. I will link some videos into the bottom about a right forest. Okay, alliteration, repetition, imperatives, pronouns. Okay, in argumentative writing, you're still going to be using a lot of those persuasive language techniques. However, it's the counter argument that is so important. Okay, so the counter argument basically is where you acknowledge, okay, the opposing team like a debate. Okay, I can see your point. However, this is my point, and this is why my point is better. But obviously, you're going to be presenting your argument logically, calmly, understanding their point of view, and then presenting evidence using those persuasive language techniques, presenting that evidence, okay, to basically make sure that your point is clear. Okay, so counter arguments, synonyms for that would be like a rebuttal, like in court, okay, or a reply to that, a counter statement, counter reason, or what some people might colloquially call a comeback. Okay, you know, like when you like bump into somebody like, yo, you stink, and they like have a comeback and they say, you stink more. Okay, I don't know. Do you guys get that? No. Okay, maybe it's just me. Okay, so Star Wars or Star Trek? Okay, which is best? Okay, I don't know. I want you guys to decide. Okay, so using evidence in argumentative writing, we saw that using evidence is one of those things that basically would be part of persuasive techniques. Okay, so you want to have evidence in each technique. So for example, inserted phrases like they argue, or sorry, they add, or they argue, or they believe, okay, or additionally, okay, in a supporting sentence after your initial topic sentence can give further detail about a specific point. Remember, you're looking to use that evidence effectively. So here's a good example. Some people believe that education is the most precious gift a young person can receive. It gives, they argue, a foundation for personal development and participation. Look at that, lots of P's there, in society. Okay, remember the use of data, statistics, and you can even make up some of your statistics, okay? Obviously within balance, okay? But you can make up your statistics, okay? But the idea is to create balance, but also an impression of expertise, knowledge, and authority. For example, a survey carried out by the EEC recently found that most students who received an education up to the age of 18 felt more adjusted and ready to experience the world at large than those who had left school or college at 16. How do you think? What do you think is, what is your perspective there? Okay, so in conclusion, argumentative writing, okay, very similar to discursive writing. I'm going to do a section specifically on discursive writing, okay, and discursive writing kind of explores the key arguments around a specific issue. But argumentative writing draws more strongly on the voice and that personal perspective from the very beginning. Okay, so you are trying to persuade or convince the reader to your point of view from the beginning. Okay, so remember, it's still balanced, okay, but you're going to be more personal, more direct, and using some of the techniques that we've used or that we've spoken about in this video so far. So go back, go through it, pause where you need to pause and read. Okay, so which one do you think I prefer? Okay, so if you guess the correct answer, you type it in the chat box. I will send you a crypto cookie. That's a crypto cookie. That's what it looks like. Okay, they're very rare. So I'm asking you guys, please share, please like, please subscribe. Okay, the more people that are watching our videos, guys, the more videos I can do. So I'm very grateful to you guys. And I'm even offering up those precious crypto cookies. Okay, so, but before I end, what is discursive writing? And that's going to be the subject of our next video. You guys be cool, you guys be awesome, rock on, and I will see you again soon.